This is Sybert signing in to Red Alert 3 on the map Battle Base Beta, and welcome back to part 2 of main event number 3. Main event, trying to remember exactly what this is, but if you haven't seen part 1, go ahead and check that out. It's got the first part of this best of 7 between this guy in the bottom left side from Team NACL. It's YuiYui. And the guy in the top right side, he is indeed Purple Allies from TNG. He's up 2-1 in this series. It's Zokker. Is it a dual racks opening for both of these players? Oh, why are you even asking? Are you a noob? Are you a scrub? What do you even know, son, if you don't know that it's a dual racks opening on Battle Base Beta in AVA? I don't even know. Now, YuiYui, sometimes he likes to play some Empire. And Battle Base Beta is considered by many players to be a Empire map. Not by all players, but indeed by some players. They think AVE or EVA on this map is indeed pretty easy. Now, why did YuiYui not go ahead and switch up for that? Well, I'm guessing he just feared a turret push coming out from Zokker. Of course, Zokker is a player who is not afraid to cheese, not afraid to go for the turret pushes. He does them very well, and of course he is very powerful with them, and while with some people they don't like the all-in, Zokker can indeed make them work, and YuiYui can indeed as well. But in this case, we'll see which one of these players goes for the better turret push, or which one of these players goes for the better non-turret push, because I don't know exactly what's going to be happening. But eventually, I promise, we won't just look at these buildings. But I did need a little bit of water there. Okay, MCV on the move. Now, we do need to keep in mind where this MCV deploys. I think that's just in range. I would be willing to bet that that's just in range of deploying down that, okay, that's exactly what both of these players did. And, yeah, with the MCV placement there, it's just under, like, a full screen for my current resolution, so it's not too big of a deal. It should be just in range of that third refinery. As you can see, the power plant goes down there. YuiYui and then Zokker can, of course, both place multi-gunner turrets somewhere in this range. They can both kind of battle each other with multi-gunner turrets, and that's the important thing. Because if you throw down your MCV way too far away, then you've got kind of this choke point, which it's, you know, depending on how you want to draw the choke point, it's one of those two things. And that's a point where your opponent can just sort of sit around with multi-gunner turrets, sit around with a lot of peacekeepers, and sort of keep you camped up there, and they could be going for any number of things. They might be going for a fourth refinery, they might be going for a sneaky attack around the side, but as long as they know they've got you holed up in here, they're a little bit more free than you. Now, of course, Zokker is going to be trying to break out here. He's dropping down a barracks. He gets out a couple of dogs, but they pretty much just get instantly annihilated. And unfortunately for YuiYui, he wasn't able to clean that up super cost-efficiently, but he was able to clean it up pretty darn cost-efficiently, basically causing his barracks and a couple of dogs to be paid out. Of course, he did lose a multi-gunner turret on kind of the north side of this little encampment, but that's not too big of a deal since Zokker lost, I believe, even more than YuiYui did in that moment. A couple of multi-gunner turrets here are going to be deployed by each player, and actually good on YuiYui, able to get that through a couple of peacekeepers, which can be very, very annoying. Is he actually going to be able to sneak on by this wall segment? Because that could be super annoying if he's able to camp right outside of this ore refinery with a couple of peacekeepers. Nice cleanup crew there by Zokker, and I'm always surprised by the range of multi-gunner turrets, even when they've got inside of them those peacekeepers. Nice kills there by Zokker. He's handling this exactly as he needs. And I guess since that only had a half load of ore, wait, okay, so I'm not actually sure if that ended up costing like more, if it, like, because you pulled it off partway, if that ended up costing like 2 loads of ore, but really you only got 1. One of those weird things like that, where it just doesn't quite add up. I don't actually know if it did, or if it just delivered part of the ore and then part of the ore another time. At any rate, Zokker going to be establishing himself with a couple of multi-gunner turrets in the middle of the map, going for the MCV move. Why? Because, of course, he's got that third refinery already established. He does indeed lose his oil derrick, which is pretty annoying. Of course, he can repay the favor to YuiYui, but for now, he is going to be going around the southern route, which means he can drop down a couple of refineries as he moves along, and that offers a little bit of economic advantage to him, but also it does offer a bit of an insurance policy. So if he ends up getting into one of those really wonky base trade, base swap sort of scenarios, then he's got a little bit of an insurance policy, kind of similar to Empire players sending power plants to the corners of the map. Is he actually going to be doing that? Well, we'll take a look. Since he has indeed deployed that con yard and he's building something rather slowly, it could indeed be a refinery. We'll have to see. It could have also been an airfield, because airfields are indeed pretty good, and of course Vindicators in these sort of base trade scenarios can be invaluable. YuiYui going to be pressing on forward, and oh, you have to... Alright, that's weird. I mean, I don't know why he just didn't finish killing off that wall segment, instead going for a different wall segment, but he is going to be cleaning up this refinery eventually. YuiYui will be able to clean that up without too much trouble. Cryoblast is going to be firing off Cryo Shot, rather. I believe, since I only really remember that the final version is Cryogeddon, and that's all that people care about, because that is crazy, crazy good. Prospector will be escaping, most likely escaping out to the water. Nice sell-off there from Zokker. We'll have to see if YuiYui does the same. Will indeed be losing one of those refineries, and then the wall segment on the second one will be going down. And, of course, this airfield and now refinery. So now this is a little mini base over here, of course, with a power plant, just to ensure that Zokker is well-powered throughout this entire game. He's going to be very happy about that, because when you get in multi-gunner turret wars, you really do not want to be entering that low power mode. YuiYui going to be deploying a command hub on the south side here as well. Should be in range of spotting Zokker relatively soon here, but Zokker pushing in with multi-gunner turret, or not multi-gunner turrets, but rather peacekeepers all sides of the map. And will he actually be able to get the kill on this Prospector? Nice splits there, utilizing that X key very well. Only loses 2 peacekeepers and gets himself another heroic peacekeeper, which is always very nice. YuiYui, on the other hand, he's doing the same. Both of these players are performing relatively equally in terms of just overall control and decision-making. No huge blunders thus far, from what I can tell. Of course, someone may be able to point out some things that each player did a little bit incorrectly here. Alright, we can point out this, if you want to call this a really big blunder. I certainly would. YuiYui could have very well killed that single peacekeeper and then sent that ore collector back to work quite a while ago. Unfortunately, he won't be doing that. Nice job absorbing shots with those peacekeepers and then just trashing, absolutely trashing that one single multi-gunner turret with all of those javelin troopers. Finally ends up killing off that peacekeeper, but really he only just delayed the inevitable, as we've got stutter-stepping, wow, 4 fully heroic stutter-stepping peacekeepers. The old Eric does still stand for YuiYui, though, which means with his newly established base in the north here, complete with walls from Zokker, he's going to be pretty happy economically. And you have to keep in mind, Zokker is currently up 1 game. He certainly doesn't want to lose this game. It is a best of 7, which means he's got a little bit of leeway, but he would much rather be 3-1 up than 2-2. That is such a very different... Whoa, that Vindicator very close to going down. That's such a very different feeling for a player in a tournament. And of course, YuiYui, he wants to win an additional $25, and Zokker wants to get the opportunity to win some money in the next main event. Of course, if you didn't know, main events you have to win 2 in a row for the payout to actually happen. So instead of it paying out every single time, there's a $25 prize that goes into the pool, and then it pays out once a player has won 2 main events, and then every consecutive main event win after that earns you another $25. So let's just say that YuiYui wins this, then he got $50 from winning main events number 1 and 2. Spoiler, by the way, if you haven't seen those. But, and then he would win $25 for winning main event number 3, and then he would go on to play in main event number 4, and let's just say he wins that, then he gets another $25. But if he gets knocked down, then the next person to win 2 main events in a row. Nice stutter step by Zokker, although he did lose a... Oh, he lost all 3 of those heroic peacekeepers. He does take down the airfield, but was it actually worth it? I mean, in straight-up monetary costs, I don't know, because he lost at least 4 peacekeepers there, and that's under the cost of the airfield. But that's still very, very close to being, you know... Oh, wait. Shoot, now I don't actually know. Peacekeepers are 200, right? 200 even, and then, like, bears are 225. I'm trying to remember what all the prices are, but I haven't actually been casting a lot of Red Alert 3 lately. As you can probably tell, hasn't been a huge amount of content lately, other than the part 1 that I posted, and of course CNC Online video, which of course you should go check out if you haven't already. So yeah, I'm a little bit out of shape in terms of casting. Zokker reestablishing 1 refinery. Of course, he wasn't able to rebuild this guy over here. Does he actually have... Okay, no, for a second there, I mistook that command post as, actually, command hub, rather, as being an MCV, and I thought maybe he went for another crazy dual MCV strat for whatever reason. At any rate, Zokker currently sitting at 2 refineries, and that's it. Probably soon to be 3, but YuiYui on the other hand sitting on 1, 2, 3, and of course the oil derrick. And the oil derrick, it's not as good as an ore refinery. Oh, actually 4, as he just now deploys an additional ore refinery, or an additional refinery on that ore node. So he's currently up to that 4 and the oil derrick, which is a very big economic advantage. Zokker actually forced to either sell off or actually lose that refinery, which is going to be putting him in a very bad situation. And you can just kind of see there's a lot more cyan on the map than there is purple, and of course that doesn't mean it's game over for YuiYui, or for Zokker on the other hand. It doesn't mean that it's 100% going to be YuiYui's game from here on out, but it does indeed, with the economic differences that we've pointed out, it does indeed mean that one of these players is going to be having a much better time, and typically it's better to go for the Vindicator over the Cryocopter. Will he actually get the Vindicator? Very close to eliminating that Vindicator, but he won't actually get it. A couple of more shots, but of course the repair drones get to work right away, healing up that Vindicator and making sure that it doesn't actually go down. So nice control there by Zokker, barely saving that Vindicator, but YuiYui is really going to be the one who had a victory there, and Zokker does indeed leave that game. Again, very obvious that Zokker was behind pretty massively at the end there. As you can see, the resources, or on the units graph, just dropping down. Basically had nothing. Pretty much had a couple of Apollos and lost a power plant right at the end there. So he does go down. Economics, almost just even. Pretty much neck and neck throughout the first, 6 minutes of this game. And then, of course, the second half of the game, not quite as even. Let's take a look at the resources difference. About 9,000, almost a full 1,000 per minute difference. And of course, that's only on the second half of that game. That's pretty much discounted for this entire first half of the game because they were so close economically. So 10,000 credits of difference in roughly 5.5 to 6 minutes of that game is going to be a pretty big deal. YuiYui able to produce a lot more, and of course a couple of engagements there just went a little bit more into his favor. Zokker not quite as efficient, and in the end, it's 2-2 in this best of 7. At most, we've got 3 more games, as number 4 does seal the deal there for YuiYui. Going to be bringing him up. Now, either one of these players still has an opportunity to take this. Absolutely. We've seen in these 4 games that these are 2 evenly matched players. They know how to play both the late game and the early game. And of course, you can argue until you turn blue in the face about which one of these players is better, but you cannot deny the fact that they're both pretty darn equal. Now, of course, you can argue about all sorts of different things about how one is slightly better early game or late game or whatever, but this series has certainly proved that they're both deserving to be the winner of this series, and they're both, of course, capable of being the winner of this series. We'll see who it is in the next couple of games. Of course, 2 games minimum, 3 games maximum coming your way in the next couple of minutes. Of course, don't go anywhere. Game number 5 is coming your way, which takes us to Industrial Strength, a map that we do not see a super ton, but on the left side in the kind of south location, it is from TNG, Zokker, or he rather is from TNG, and he is Zokker. But in the top right side from NACL, it's YuiYui, the man who just evened things up 2-2. There's the engineer. Is it going to be 4? Oh, nice camp there by Zokker. May actually, ooh, that is a nice hold there by YuiYui, and basically both of those players doing exactly what they should. And that is going to be an engineer for the oil derrick, not an engineer for the garage in the middle of the map. Although we'll have to see if Zokker ends up going for that garage in the middle of the map. Oh, wow. Wow. Zokker did indeed get the very, very annoying dog placement. Actually, 2 very annoying dog placements. Delays production on the second boot camp, which again, dual racks. Oh, whoa. Uh-oh. What's the next thing going to be coming out from Zokker? It could very well be a cryo rush. We'll have to see. He could just be going for a sort of, like, late 3rd expansion, but alright, so he is going to be going for nothing too crazy just yet. Sometimes when you see the walls in like that, it's the start of something crazy, but for now, it's actually nothing unusual at all. Or nothing too unusual, but at any rate, Zokker did get the really annoying dog placements. He does indeed get the delayed production on the boot camp, and then the possibly very slightly delayed refinery placement, although likely it wasn't actually delayed at all, because of course YuiYui already had this refinery walled in. He can just place his first ref there, and then start building the second ref and clear out that dog with a peacekeeper, or at least scare it away out to the water where it can run and hide. So that's kind of the opening of this game. Of course, these two players very equally matched overall in their AVA, and of course, if you've been taking a look at the tournaments lately, you know that a lot of Allied players are getting a lot of AVA practice, a super common matchup to see, and of course, top 4 Allied is pretty common to see in any tournament these days, but we'll have to see if this is going to be changing in the near future. That is so many Peacekeepers coming in here. Zokker overwhelmed in pretty much every way possible. YuiYui just pushing forward with incredible numbers. YuiYui does deploy a third refinery, as does Zokker, so economically these two players pretty similar. Zokker goes ahead and seals up his main. Sometimes when you see the walls like that, it does mean a crowd rush. For now, it won't. And it looks like YuiYui is going to be cleaning up that oil derrick from Zokker. Zokker doing the best to return the favor, but not quite as quickly, which means a couple more dollars will be out for YuiYui. And you check out that MCV move. The dog very well may have spotted this. Of course, he knows that the MCV has to be somewhere nearby to deploy that refinery and power plant, but he doesn't know exactly where it could be. Of course, it could be over here, and so that dog may need to go in for a second pass, or at this point, he's definitely seen the MCV, and Zokker knows exactly what is happening. So there's a couple of options that he can do. He can try to start his counter turret push and just push around the right side of the map to try to go ahead and clean up YuiYui's base and kind of do a base swap, base push sort of scenario. Or he can stay at home, defend as best he can, and hope that he gets the better end of the deal that way. Okay, so he sells off the armor facility. I was going to talk about what he could do with the armor facility, but he can't do anything with it now because it's sold off. However, he can be annoying with Riptides, which actually one of them may very well be going down. A couple of Javelin Troopers, if they get eliminated, that would be nice. Alright, so the Riptide does indeed escape, but just barely. I don't know if it's actually going to be able to do too much else, and it's almost getting eliminated. So close. Oh, it's got 5 Javelin Troopers inside of it, which is very important because there goes Prospector. That was really the crushing ability of that Prospector was very powerful, but unfortunately for YuiYui, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot about that. Both of these players have lost that one Harvester. However, a Peacekeeper is along here. It may have been better for Zokker just to go straight for that ore refinery. YuiYui does have another Prospector queued up, but he will likely not be able to do a whole lot with it, at least not for the next 30 seconds or so until those Javelin Troopers are eliminated. And, okay, so Peacekeeper's coming in for Zokker. He's going to be getting some use out of this force, and he's made it pretty much all the way across the map. Does get the laser lock on one of the refineries. The second one will be getting laser locked down relatively soon here. And of course, with 4 Peacekeepers, Zokker is going to be able to trash the main base of YuiYui relatively quickly, but will it actually be so much faster than YuiYui trashing the main base of Zokker? A couple of Peacekeepers, a couple of Javelin Troopers getting split off to go ahead and deal with the third refinery of YuiYui. Zokker, on the other hand, does not have the same threat headed towards him, although now the multi-gunner turrets and the Javelin Troopers starting to focus fire down this refinery, starting to even things up economically. There's the sell-off for YuiYui. He's got pretty much no income. I take that back. He's got exactly no income, and of course he can run the Prospector all the way out onto the land, but with this Riptide, oh, this could be very bad. Oh, no! YuiYui, he gets the bad refinery placement, and then on top of that, the Prospector is bugged, so Zokker is actually in a relatively good position. I almost said a really good position, and it's like, well, compared with absolutely terrible position, well, with an absolutely terrible position, yeah, he's in a relatively good position, but that doesn't mean he's in an actually good position. YuiYui does have a couple of power plants here, and of course that's close enough to where if you force fire the ground in between them, you'll end up splashing them down and doing a significant amount of damage that way. Multi-gunner turrets do get the laser lock. This barracks may get sold off pretty much immediately. A dog is going to be popping on out. Will he actually get the barks off? Will he get the roars? Whoa! He kills actually both of those Peacekeepers, so nice work there by YuiYui, or by Zokker, going to be eliminated a couple of those Peacekeepers and just helping that little bit of extra damage. Oh! What up, son? Zokker getting the kill with that final multi-gunner turret shot, and that was some very, very, very clutch kills there by Zokker. Like, he bought himself just enough time with that barracks to go ahead and move in and just wipe out that last refinery with the multi-gunner turret, and that is really what sealed the deal. YuiYui was basically out of it before that, but losing that refinery so sealed the deal for Zokker. And, I mean, if Zokker didn't kill that refinery, he probably still would have been able to win. It just might have taken a little bit longer. And, of course, there could have been some forces out on the map of Zokker's that I didn't quite see. But, yeah, Zokker would have most likely still won that game. It would have been incredible if YuiYui came back from that position. But, as you can see, YuiYui is like, cut my losses. GG. We'll tap out of that game. Move on to game number 6, I believe. If I'm doing my math right, of course, YuiYui, again, he's not out of it yet. Zokker is up 3-2, which means this is the match point for Zokker. But, I mean, we're already in Game 6. It's not unreasonable that we could go to Game 7, but we will indeed see. At any rate, next game is going to be coming up in just a few moments. Of course, don't go anywhere. Here's game number 6. And that takes us to Temple Prime. Again, another map we don't see very often, and this is right. You are not deceived on the left side as the Cyan Empire from Team NACL. This is YuiYui. And on the right side, as the Purple Allies from Team TNG, it's Zokker opening up dual racks. On the north side, Engineer does indeed pop out. And of course, the first couple dogs are sprinting across the map to see, oh hey, you got a dojo core on the top side, you probably have a dojo core on the bottom side. Of course, as Empire, triple dojo openings, or even quad dojo openings, as I have seen on this map, are not too uncommon. It does give you an opportunity to capture both of the oil derricks, although most of the time you're really only going to be able to grab one of them, because your opponent will most likely force a bunch of units onto the north or south side to go ahead and secure one of the oil derricks for themselves. But in some cases, you can indeed go for both oil derricks and grab them. But the next couple of minutes are going to be very important for both of these players. Of course, if Zokker decides to go for more and more infantry, which he has stopped doing, it could end up being a very bad situation for YuiYui, because if you don't get the dojo cores out into the correct positions, or you sell them off too early, stopping peacekeepers once they're already inside of your base can be very, very difficult. You have to get the dojo cores out, then you have to get them up and deployed, whereas you know, allied players, you can just queue the barracks inside of your MCV and then place it down when it's completed. Oh! Nice kill there by Zokker. Eliminates the engineer, takes it out completely. 500 credits down the drain for YuiYui. Very annoying. Of course, he doesn't have the oil derrick, so he's missing out on that potential income, while Zokker, on the other hand, is going to be sitting very pretty. But YuiYui did not sell off the dojo cores early, and of course he does have a couple of more running around the map, which means he does still have the opportunity to hold off the Peacekeeper army of Zokker, and he also does have an opportunity to grab that oil derrick in the south. How many dojos does he actually have? He's built at least 4, I think 5 as well in this game throughout the entirety of it. I mean, he's got 3 on the map right now, a 4th one right there, so yeah, he's definitely got just a crazy amount of dojo cores just all over the place. If he can get up to a mecha bay, he's going to be pretty happy, but he's going refinery core out. That's 2,500 credits out on the water that is not going to be spent on army when you've got a turret pushing allies coming straight for you. This is not after 3rd refinery. This is airfield into turret push. And oh my word, Zokker could very well be able to just eliminate YuiYui right here. And now there is absolutely no sort of vehicles going to be coming out on the field, which means there's not really going to be any way for... Oh, Zokker, I don't actually know if he was able to clean up an additional engineer or not, but this Vindicator is going to be cleaning up the engineer if it does come out. But at any rate, it's going to be very difficult for YuiYui to hold this attack off if it happens in the next couple of minutes, because Vindicators can do so much damage to the ground army of an Empire player, and especially since you don't have any infantry that can shoot up, it can be difficult to deal with those air armies. But for now, there is a fair amount of Imperial Warriors out on the field, and of course, Imperial Warriors trade a little bit more efficiently when you're talking about trading in buildings against Peacekeepers than vice versa. And with now this economic advantage potentially going to YuiYui, he's got the multi-gunner turret to deal with in his base, but the tank hunters are doing a pretty good job of that. They're getting a lot of nice shots off here. Actually, very well played to YuiYui. Going to be losing a couple of tank busters rather, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Actually, there was a lot of tank hunters, or tank busters right there. 7, 8. Okay, suddenly this did not go very well for YuiYui as well as he would have liked. He does have the oil derrick in the south, and also this 3rd refinery out on the water, which is of course going to be very good, but Zokker is not dead yet. Zokker is not out yet. YuiYui is in a reasonable position, not a great one, but losing all of those tank busters certainly did even the score for Zokker. Of course, with those tank busters, YuiYui could have been able to press on forward and potentially do some damage. I mean, at the very least, clean up that oil derrick, but at the very most, he could have potentially pushed on, taken out the airfield, but losing all of those tank busters that quickly, not good, not good at all. At any rate, we do have the airfield going to be going down for Zokker. Of course, this just cuts down the bombing run time by so much for Zokker. Another dojo going to be coming out for YuiYui. He's got just a ridiculous amount of them at this point. Uh-oh. Oh, no. This took a lot of damage. Those Vindicator bombing runs are absolutely terrible as the Engineer heads out onto the map. Grandmaster has been defeated. NACL will be dropping out of main event number 3. And TNG, with a couple of split decisions, really, what did it come down to? Throwing down that airfield so close to where YuiYui already was, and then he takes out that MCV. It wouldn't have been quite as bad if he already had a Mecha Bay out, but with no Tengus, no Tier 2 to try to get Chopper VXs or anything like that out, there's just no way to deal with the air armada of Zokker. Very difficult for YuiYui to try to mess with that. At any rate, quick look around at the graphs. Not going to be learning a whole lot from that 5-minute match between these two players. Anyways, that is going to be doing it. A big congratulations to Zokker, and YuiYui doing his best to bring out that last game, but it just didn't quite work. A couple of key mistakes, and it is over for him. But a good show by both players, some really nice control by both players throughout this series, and a number of fantastic games for certain. So I hope you enjoyed main event number 3, main event number 4 games will be coming your way. Of course, that was live cast by Fizzin and myself, so that'll be on the way relatively soon here. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thank you very much for sticking around, and this is Sybert, signing out.